Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive.
It's great to be back.
So this time we're going deep on a figure who I think it's safe to say just about everybody has heard of these days.
Yeah, it's hard to avoid him.
Elon Musk, Tesla, SpaceX.
Yeah.
But we're going to try to go a little deeper than those headlines that we see all the time. We've got this biography, it's pretty extensive, and we're going to try to really unpack who this guy is.
Yeah, I think it does a good job of going kind of beyond the cult of personality.
Right.
And looking at him as a human being, as a
flawed human being.
Flawed human being, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and I think we'll get into some of that.
Yeah.
So let's start at the beginning, right? I mean, the guy's been in the news forever, it feels like, but, where did it all begin?
Well, he was born in South Africa,
Yeah.
Pretoria, South Africa.
Okay.
And, his childhood was a little more complicated than you might think.
Yeah, you think like, oh, super rich kid, easy life, right?
Well, his family did have money. His father was an engineer, kind of a self-made guy. Right. But the home life was pretty rocky.
Oh.
And Elon, he had a tough time. He didn't really get along with his father. That's a theme that kind of comes up over and over again in his life.
Oh, really? Okay.
He had a pretty rough time in school, too. Like, he talks about being bullied, like really badly bullied.
With physically bullied?
Oh, yeah. Like, beaten up, thrown downstairs, the whole 9 yards.
Oh, wow.
Pretty brutal stuff.
So, I mean, it makes you wonder, right? How does that shape somebody?
Yeah, I mean, you see that drive,
Right.
that resilience, I think, in a lot of what he does. Maybe even the way he sometimes manages people, which can be a little
harsh.
A little intense, shall we say.
Yeah.
But even with all that, he was always kind of this adventurous, like, almost fearless kid.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you have to be to build rockets and explosives in your backyard like he did.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's another thing. Like, this guy was obsessed with rockets from a very early age.
Yeah.
Built his own, trying to make explosives. There's stories about him almost blowing himself up.
Wow.
Yeah, typical kid stuff.
Just your average kid.
Just your average kid who's, almost creating weapons of mass destruction.
Right.
But it speaks to that curiosity, that drive to push boundaries.
Yeah, so he was already kind of showing that he wasn't going to be content with just like a normal life.
Oh, no, absolutely not. And even in high school, he was like advocating for solar energy in South Africa.
What? Really?
Yeah, which was, heavily reliant on coal and mining and all that. So it was pretty radical for the time.
Okay, so this wasn't just like a kid who, liked rockets. This was like a deep-seated
Yeah, it seems like
drive to innovate, to do something different.
Absolutely.
Okay, so he grows up in South Africa, tough childhood, but obviously very bright, ambitious, destined for something big. So where does he go from there?
Well, eventually he leaves South Africa, goes to Canada first.
Okay.
And then ends up in the U.S. And he's really, he's chasing those opportunities.
Right.
He wants to build things. He wants to make a mark.
Right.
And that's where we get to Rope 2. Have you ever heard of Zip 2?
I haven't actually, no.
So this was kind of his first big venture.
Okay.
It was an online city guide.
Oh, okay.
So think like before Google Maps, before all that stuff.
Okay.
He had this idea to create these online directories for cities.
Right.
With maps and business listings and all that. And he was really hustling. Like, he was going door to door to businesses, trying to get them to sign up.
Oh, wow. So it was like the early days of the internet where it was like really pounding the pavement.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
He even had this idea. There's a story about him trying to convince his bosses at this investment bank where he was working.
Okay.
To, like, capitalize on this bond opportunity in South America. And they thought he was crazy.
What? Really?
Yeah. So he's always had that kind of, like, seeing things that other people don't.
Yeah.
But Zip 2, it struggled at first. It was a tough business.
Right.
But eventually they sold it.
Oh, okay.
For, like, millions of dollars.
Wow. So not a bad first.
Not a bad first venture at all.
At all, yeah.
And it taught him some valuable lessons about, taking risks, but also about maintaining control of his companies.
Yeah, yeah.
Because that's something that he's kind of struggled with throughout his career.
Okay.
It's like, who's really calling the shots?
Right.
And he's always wanted to be the one.
So that was Zip 2. What comes after that? Because I feel like that's when we start getting into the Elon Musk that most people...
Well, then we get to PayPal.
Okay, there we go.
Right.
So I feel like that's when he really hits the big time.
Well, and PayPal, I mean, everybody knows PayPal now.
Right.
But back then, his vision for it, for X.com, which eventually became PayPal, was way bigger than just online payments. Oh, yeah. He wanted to create, like, a whole online financial system.
Wow.
Like banking, brokerage, you name it. He wanted to do it all online.
Okay.
And again, a lot of people thought he was nuts.
Right.
But he came incredibly close to actually pulling it off.
Wow.
And, this is where you start to see that pattern with him.
Yeah, okay.
Where he sets these incredibly ambitious goals
Right.
that most people think are impossible.
Right.
And then he, like, almost gets there.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
So it's not just hype. It's not just like hot air. Yeah. He actually like gets pretty darn close.
He does. But with PayPal, ultimately he was pushed out
of
his own company.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, there were some power struggles, some disagreements about the direction of the company.
So this is this control issue again?
Yeah, exactly.
Coming up.
But what's interesting is that even though he was ousted,
right,
he stayed on as an advisor.
Oh, okay.
And he ended up being the largest shareholder.
Wow.
So when eBay bought PayPal for a ton of money,
right,
he made a fortune.
Okay. So, I mean, that's pretty impressive to be able to step back from something that you clearly poured your heart and soul into.
Yeah.
And still, reap the rewards.
Yeah, and that's, I think, a sign of his maturity, too.
Okay.
That he was able to do that.
Right.
Because he could have easily just walked away and said, screw you guys, I'm going to do my own thing.
Yeah.
But he didn't.
So he stayed involved and ended up making a killing.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So PayPal, huge success. What's next?
Well, this is where things get really interesting because now he starts circling back to that childhood fascination with space.
Oh, okay.
Right. So after PayPal, he starts thinking about what am I going to do next? And space is calling to him.
Okay.
And his initial concept was this crazy mice to Mars idea.
Mice to Mars.
Yeah, like literally send a bunch of mice to Mars.
Or like a publicity stunt kind of thing?
Almost, yeah.
Yeah.
Like get people excited about space again.
Okay.
But that kind of evolved into SpaceX, which is, a full-fledged commercial space venture.
Wow.
And his goal was basically to dramatically reduce the cost of space travel.
So like make it more accessible.
Exactly.
To private companies.
To everyone.
To everyone.
To regular people, eventually that's the goal.
Wow.
So he wasn't messing around. He recruited this guy, Tom Mueller, who was like a legendary rocket engineer.
Oh, wow.
And they basically set out to build rockets from scratch.
Like completely from scratch?
Yeah. Way cheaper and more efficiently than these giant aerospace companies.
Wow. Okay.
So picture this. They set up shop in Los Angeles.
Right.
It's this scrappy operation with like all these young engineers working crazy hours, fueled by Musk's, enthusiasm and ambition.
And pizza and Red Bull, probably.
Yeah, probably a lot of that.
Yeah.
But it wasn't all smooth sailing. Their first rocket, the Falcon 1, cracked and burned.
Oh.
Not once, but multiple times.
Wow.
And it would have been easy to just give up at that point, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, most people would have said, like, okay, this is clearly not working.
Right. But Musk doubled down.
Really?
He poured his own money into SpaceX, even when things looked incredibly bleak.
Wow. I mean, that's either crazy or genius.
Well, that's the question, right?
Right.
But I think that unwavering belief is key to understanding him.
Okay.
He sets these ambitious goals, sure.
Right.
But he genuinely believes they're achievable.
Yeah.
Even when everyone else is shaking their heads.
Okay, so SpaceX is up and running, lots of challenges.
Yeah.
But this isn't the only thing that he's working on at this time, right?
No, because remember, around the same time, he's also diving headfirst into the world of electric cars with Tesla.
Oh, yeah, Tesla. So this is like two incredibly ambitious companies at the same time.
Yeah, and with Tesla, his goal was to create high-performance electric cars.
Okay.
That could not just compete with, but outperform the best gas guzzlers on the market.
Okay.
He wanted to revolutionize the entire automotive industry. And he did it his way, like going against all the conventional wisdom.
Right.
He teamed up with J.B. Straubel, who was an expert in electric vehicles and battery technology.
Yeah.
And together, they aimed to build a car that was not only environmentally friendly,
right,
but also incredibly desirable.
So not just like a little econo box that gets you from A to B.
No. This was about performance, about luxury, about excitement.
Okay.
Their first car, the Tesla Roadster, was a statement.
Yeah.
Like, A luxury sports car aimed at proving that electric could be sexy and exciting.
Okay, so this was like a halo car.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But of course, getting it to market was an uphill battle.
Right. I mean, I imagine building cars is not easy,
Not at all.
especially when you're doing something that's never been done before.
Right. I mean, they faced production delays, technical issues, you name it.
Right.
And then there was Musk's management style, which, let's just say, wasn't for everyone.
We've heard a little bit about that already.
Right.
Okay, so expand on that a little bit.
Yeah, so he was incredibly demanding.
Sometimes even harsh.
Oh, okay.
But he also inspired this level of dedication and passion
Right.
you don't see very often.
Okay, so it's like he pushes people to their absolute limit.
Yeah, there are stories about him working insane hours,
Right.
sleeping at the factory, even personally delivering parts.
Really?
Yeah, to keep production on track.
Wow, okay.
He wasn't just the CEO, he was in the trenches with his team,
Wow.
pushing them and himself to the absolute limit.
So it sounds like he leads by example.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that intensity paid off.
Okay.
The Roadster, it may not have been a huge commercial success,
Right.
but it became a symbol
Okay.
of what electric cars could be.
Okay.
It captured the imagination of, car enthusiasts and investors alike.
So it's like he proved the concept.
Yeah.
Okay.
She showed that it could be done.
All right, so SpaceX is struggling, Tesla is just getting off the ground.
Right.
And then on top of all of that, his personal life starts to fall apart a little bit, right?
Right.
Yeah, so around this time, he's going through this very public and messy divorce.
Okay.
And the media scrutiny is relentless.
Yeah. I mean, I imagine when you're as high profile as he is,
Right.
everything gets magnified.
And his ex-wife, Justine, was very open about the challenges of their relationship.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she painted a picture of a husband who was so consumed by his work
Okay.
that he was often absent, both physically and emotionally.
Right.
And it started to raise questions about whether Musk could balance his ambition
Right.
with a personal life.
Right. Or if he even cared to.
Yeah, and if that even mattered to him.
Right. And it feeds into this paradox that we see with him, right?
Exactly. He's this demanding leader
Right.
who inspires fierce loyalty and devotion.
Yeah.
But he also struggles with his public perception
Okay.
and with these expectations of a normal life.
Right. So it's like he wants to change the world,
Yeah.
but at what cost? Okay. And remember, all of this, SpaceX's early struggles, Tesla's production woes, this very public divorce, this is all happening simultaneously.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just a pressure cooker of stress and uncertainty.
Yeah. It was a make or break moment for him.
Really?
With both Tesla and SpaceX on the brink of either incredible success
Right.
or catastrophic failure.
Wow. And he's personally on the hook for millions.
Yeah, millions of his own dollars
Wow.
invested in these companies.
Okay.
So the stakes could not have been higher.
So much pressure. I mean, it's hard to even fathom having all of that on your shoulders.
Yeah, I mean, he was literally selling off prized possessions,
Really?
like his McLaren F1 supercar,
Wow.
just to keep the companies afloat.
So it wasn't just like, oh, I believe in this. It was like, I'm putting everything I have into this.
Everything, yeah.
Wow.
There's even a story about him telling a friend that he was prepared to move into his wife's parents' basement if it meant saving the companies.
Oh, wow. So he was all in.
All in, yeah.
Wow.
But what's interesting is that even amidst all that stress and uncertainty,
Right.
he still manages to find these moments of joy, of childlike wonder.
Okay, how so?
Well, there's this great anecdote in the biography about him visiting Haiti.
Haiti.
Yeah, after a particularly rough period.
Okay.
And he brings toys and laptops for an orphanage.
Oh, wow.
Teaches kids how to launch model rockets.
Okay.
Even takes a dugout canoe trip into the jungle.
Oh, wow.
So it's like he has this ability to kind of compartmentalize
Okay.
and find these moments of pure joy, even when everything else is falling apart around him.
So it's not all just like doom and gloom and stress.
Right, exactly.
He still has this capacity for fun and
Yeah, for playfulness, for seeing the wonder in things.
yeah. Okay, that's interesting.
It's a fascinating duality.
All right, so let's get back to Tesla.
Okay.
So the Roadster proved that electric cars could be cool,
Right.
but his real goal was to make them mainstream,
Exactly.
to disrupt the entire automotive industry. That's where the Model S comes in, right?
That's right. The Model S was designed to be a game changer.
Okay.
The luxury sedan with long range, incredible performance, and all the tech bells and whistles you could imagine.
Okay, so this is like moving beyond the niche market.
Exactly. This was about showing the world that electric cars could be not only practical,
Right.
but also aspirational.
Okay.
And it was a stunning car.
I mean, It's hard to argue with that.
They brought in Franz von Holzhausen,
Okay.
this renowned car designer
Okay.
who had worked on iconic cars like the Mazda Miata and the Pontiac Solstice,
Wow. Okay.
to give the Model S that sleek, futuristic look.
And he delivered. It's a beautiful car.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just beautiful, it was packed with innovation. Well, take, for example, those door handles that sit flush with the body and pop out when you approach.
Yeah.
Pure Tesla.
Yeah. So it's like reimagining the driving experience.
Exactly.
Okay, so they had the design, they had the technology,
Mm-hmm.
but getting there wasn't easy, right?
Yeah. No, not at all. They made a bold decision to build the body out of aluminum.
Aluminum.
Yeah, which was practically unheard of at the time for mass-produced cars.
Really? Why is that?
Well, it's much more difficult to work with than steel.
Okay.
It requires specialized equipment and expertise.
So why did they do it?
Well, Musk called it an obvious decision
Okay.
because it made the car lighter,
Okay.
which meant better range and performance.
Okay, so it was like a performance-driven decision.
Yeah, but it also created huge manufacturing challenges
Oh, I bet.
that almost derailed the entire project.
Oh, wow.
They had to figure out new ways to work with aluminum on that scale,
Right.
and it pushed them to their limits.
So another example of Musk being like, we're doing it this way, even if it's harder.
Exactly. He was not afraid to take risks.
Okay, so they're building this revolutionary car,
Mm-hmm.
but of course, they need money. Tons of it.
Oh, yeah, they were constantly scrambling for funding.
So how did they manage to pull it off?
Well, they managed to secure a crucial investment from Daimler.
Daimler.
Yeah, the parent company of Mercedes-Benz,
Wow, okay.
which was a huge vote of confidence.
Yeah, like the old guard saying, okay, maybe these guys are onto something.
Exactly.
Okay, so they've got Daimler on board.
Mm-hmm.
What else?
And then came the big one,
Okay.
a $465 million loan from the U.S. Department of Energy.
Wow, that's a lot of money.
That was a massive gamble for the government.
Yeah,
But it also showed that Tesla was being taken seriously
right.
as a potential player in the auto industry.
Okay, so now they've got the money.
Mm.
They need to ramp up production.
Right.
So what do they do?
Well, they did something pretty audacious.
Okay.
They bought the NUMMI factory in Fremont, California.
The NRMMI factory.
It's a massive facility
Okay.
that had been shut down by General Motors and Toyota.
Oh, wow. So this is like a symbolic moment.
It was, yeah.
Like the old guard making way for the new.
Exactly. And they completely transformed it
Okay.
into this state-of-the-art manufacturing hub where robots and highly skilled workers assembled these futuristic electric cars.
Okay, so they're really going all in on this.
Yeah.
They're not just like dipping their toes in the water.
No, they're diving in head first.
Okay.
And they even had this grand opening ceremony.
Really?
Yeah, with workers waving American flags and celebrating this new era of American manufacturing.
Wow.
It must have felt pretty emotional,
Yeah, I bet.
even for someone like Musk, who, doesn't usually get caught up in that kind of thing.
Right.
But it captured the optimism that Tesla represented at that time.
Yeah, I mean, this is like a real American success story,
It was.
at least at this point.
Right, and it was happening right around the same time that SpaceX achieved another major milestone,
Okay, what's that?
successfully sending a Dragon capsule to the International Space Station and bringing it back to Earth.
Oh, wow. So 2 huge wins in a row.
Yeah, it was a turning point for Musk.
Okay.
Suddenly, the guy who had been mocked and doubted for years
Right.
was being hailed as a visionary, a doer, someone who could actually deliver on his audacious promises.
Yeah, it's like he finally silenced the critics.
At least for a little while.
Okay.
But it's important to note that despite his successes,
Right.
Musk has also faced a fair share of criticism.
Okay. Well, yeah. No one's perfect.
Right, and some people see him as arrogant and reckless.
Okay. In what way?
Well, especially when he makes those bold predictions
Okay.
about timelines and future achievements
Right.
that don't always pan out.
Okay, so like overpromising and underdelivering.
Yeah, like that time he unveiled the battery swapping system for the Model S.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
He promised that owners could swap out depleted batteries for fully charged ones in just 90 seconds.
Yeah.
It was a brilliant idea, in theory,
Right.
but it never really gained traction.
Yeah, it's like the infrastructure wasn't there.
Exactly.
To support it.
And it highlights that sometimes there's a gap between Musk's vision
Mhm.
and the practical realities of implementation.
Right. So it's like he can come up with these amazing ideas, but actually making them work in the real world
Right.
is a whole other challenge.
Exactly. And the critics are always ready to pounce
Yeah.
when things don't go according to plan.
Right.
But you can't deny the impact he's had.
Okay.
He single-handedly forced the entire auto industry to take electric cars seriously.
Yeah.
pushing them to invest in their own electric vehicle programs.
So he's like a catalyst for change.
He is, yeah.
Oh, okay.
He's shown the world that electric cars can be desirable, aspirational, even luxurious.
Mm-hmm.
And he's created a brand, Tesla,
Right.
that for many people represents the future of transportation.
Yeah. You either love Tesla or you hate them.
Right,
You
exactly.
can't ignore them.
No, not at all.
And let's not forget SpaceX. They've
Yeah.
continued to innovate,
Hmm.
developing reusable rockets that can land back on Earth after launching payloads into space.
Which is a game changer for the economics of space travel.
Yeah, I mean, it's incredible to watch those rockets land.
It is.
Just vertically.
It drastically reduces costs and opens up a whole new world of possibilities
Okay.
for space exploration and commercialization.
And, of course, there's Musk's ultimate goal.
Right.
Establishing a self-sustaining city on Mars.
He sees it as essential for the long-term survival of humanity.
That's one of those ideas that makes you go, wait, is he serious?
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like science fiction,
It does.
but he seems totally committed to this vision.
Really?
He's even talked about wanting to die on Mars,
What? Really?
just not on impact.
Wow.
So it's that grand, almost science fiction ambition
Right.
that drives everything he does,
Okay.
whether it's electric cars, rockets, or even the Hyperloop.
The hypo?
It's high-speed transportation system he proposed.
Yeah.
That sounds straight out of a futuristic movie.
Yeah, imagine traveling in pods through tubes at near the speed of sound.
Exactly. It's mind-blowing.
It is.
And yet, Musk released a detailed paper outlining the concept.
Really? And now there are companies, like Virgin Hyperloop, actually working to make it a reality.
Wow. It seems like nothing is too crazy for this guy.
Right.
But is it all hype? Can he really pull off these seemingly impossible feats?
That's the question.
Or is he setting himself up for a massive fall? I mean, it's a good question, right?
Yeah.
Is he going to be in the history books as this guy who like saved humanity?
Right.
Or is he going to be, another cautionary tale of hubris and overreaching?
Well, and the biography actually gets into that a bit.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they talk about those comparisons people make.
Okay.
Is he like Howard Hughes? The brilliant but kind of reclusive and troubled inventor?
Right.
Or is he more like a modern-day Thomas Edison?
Okay.
Someone with big ideas and the ability to turn them into reality?
Yeah, I mean, that's the key difference, right?
Right.
It's one thing to dream it up,
Mm-hmm.
but it's another thing to actually build it.
Exactly.
And Musk is, he's a gifted engineer.
He's a problem solver, and he's built these incredibly strong teams.
Right.
At both Tesla and SpaceX, they've attracted some of the top talent in their fields.
The book actually it goes pretty deep into the work culture
Oh, really?
at both companies, and it sounds intense,
Okay.
demanding, but also incredibly inspiring.
Okay, so what's it like to work for Elon Musk?
Well, people are working crazy hours,
Okay.
driven by Musk's vision and this chance to be part of something
Right.
truly groundbreaking.
Okay, but it can't all be sunshine and roses.
No, definitely not. And the book doesn't sugarcoat it.
Okay.
Musk's demanding nature
Right.
and his tendency to be really tough on employees.
Okay, give me an example.
Well, there's stories about unrealistic expectations, outbursts, that kind of thing.
So it's like a very high pressure.
Yeah, very high pressure.
environment.
It's that double-edged sword.
Okay.
He demands perfection
Mm-hmm.
from himself and everyone around him, which can create this incredibly challenging work environment.
So some people thrive in that.
Some people thrive,
Some people don't.
and others burn out.
Yeah, yeah.
It takes a certain type of person to really succeed.
Mm-hmm. To survive in that environment.
Yeah, to survive and thrive in that environment.
And it's not just the workaholic culture, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's also stories about clashes with investors,
Yeah.
battles with regulators,
Mm.
and of course those infamous Twitter feuds.
Right, the guy's not afraid of confrontation.
He does not shy away from a fight.
That's part of what makes him so effective, though.
Okay.
He doesn't back down from challenges,
Mm-hmm.
and he's willing to fight for what he believes in,
Right.
even if it ruffles feathers along the way.
So it's like, you can admire that,
Yeah.
or you can be really put off by it.
Right, exactly.
It depends on your personality.
It does.
So, I mean, this biography really paints a complex picture of Elon Musk.
Yeah.
He's brilliant, ambitious, driven, but also, flawed and sometimes reckless.
Yeah.
So where does that leave us when we're thinking about his legacy?
Well, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
And it's one we can't definitively answer yet.
Right?
His story is still being written.
I mean, who knows what he's going to do next?
Exactly. I mean, for all we know, he could be on Mars next week.
Yeah, who knows?
What we can say is that he's undeniably a force of nature.
Yeah.
Someone who's disrupted multiple industries and pushed the boundaries of technology and human ambition.
Yeah, he's made mistakes, faced setbacks,
Mm-hmm.
but he just keeps pushing forward,
Right.
driven by this seemingly unshakable belief in his vision.
It's really remarkable.
Ex-
Whether he ultimately succeeds or fails on that grand scale,
Right.
he's made a mark on the world.
I think it's safe to say that.
There's no doubt about that.
So I guess that's the question that we're left with.
Well, what do you think?
What do I think?
What's his legacy going to be?
I think he's a fascinating figure.
He is.
He's done amazing things.
Yeah.
But I think it's still too early to say what his ultimate legacy will be.
I think that's fair.
I think we'll have to wait and see how it all plays out.
Absolutely.
But it's definitely a story worth following.
It is.
And we'll keep you updated
We will.
right here on the Deep Dive.
Sounds good.